They did not allow the lawyer a moment to utter a word. She shall receive naught. Father held a deep disdain for her. Those were the words of my sister Victoria as I gracefully entered the room. Without a greeting, devoid of eye contact, she denovered that piercing sentence, its resonance intended for all to hear, as if she wished it to linger in the air. The words settled in my chest with the force of a tender blow. As I held my son Noah's hand, my grip instinctively tightened, his denoacate fingers curling around mine, radiating warmth and a gentle tremor. I offered him a denoacate smile, fragile and uncertain, yet he understood. He had always been aware. Before I had the chance to settle in, the message was unmistakably conveyed.
I found myself unwelcome.
I did not belong to the family. I was merely a stray thread they sought to sever with precision. Victoria graced the head of the table, elegantly poised in a chic grey pantsuit, her dark hair swept into the familiar tight bun that signaled her desire for dominance. Her lipstick was a striking crimson, quintessentially Victoria, a bold adornment for a confrontation I had unknowingly stepped into. Then arrived the voice I feared even more. My Uncle Harold, the elder brother of my father, released a soft, dry chuckle. He reclined in his chair, fingers entwined behind his head, that self-satisfied smirk of his gliding across his features like a silken caress. Even her child perceives her as lacking value, Harold murmured, casting a glance toward Noah as if he were invisible. Noah cast his gaze downward, a subtle shyness enveloping him. My heart shattered just a touch more profoundly. Throughout the room, several heads gently inclined in agreement. My cousins, former neighbors, family, and friends I had not encountered in ages, individuals who had long chosen their allegiances, and I found myself on the outside of theirs. I took a deep breath. My throat was as rough as sandpaper. The atmosphere was thick with the scent of aged dust, the richness of leather chairs, and the lingering sweetness of the perfume that Victoria had so generously adorned herself with. The rhythm of my pulse echoed in my ears, fervent and overwhelming, a sensation both intense and humbling. I guided Noah to the most distant chair at the end of the elongated mahogany table, far removed from the gathering. The chair let out a soft creak as I settled into it. Noah ascended beside me, his legs gently swaying above the floor, his hands denocately folded in his lap as if he wished to vanish into the air. Victoria gracefully turned her head in my direction, and as our eyes intertwined, a soft smile graced her lips. Yet, it held no warmth, merely a pity steeped in bitterness. Surely, you must realize that this endeavor holds little purpose, don't you? My sister Victoria spoke, her voice smooth yet chilling. Father has amended the will, excluding you entirely, declaring you no longer a part of his life. I chose to remain silent. I was unable to. My tongue lingered, weighted and unyielding within my mouth.
I me relie inclined ma head, aiv tout conve mai understanding.
Yet within? What was the purpose of my arrival here? I wondered perhaps, there might be something more. A whisper, a trace, a gesture that spoke of his remembrance of me. A touch that brings clarity to it all. Yet, here I found myself once more in the very place I had vowed never to revisit. Enveloped by souls who had signaled their intentions, having laid me to rest long before they honored his departure. And just as I was poised to rise, to depart before they began to dissect the estate like ravenous vultures, the door gently swung open, a soft creak echoing in the stillness. Mr. Connors, my father's esteemed lawyer, gracefully entered the room, cradling a substantial folder beneath his arm. He appeared unchanged, impeccably tailored, with weary eyes and a visage that revealed nothing of his thoughts. Silence enveloped the room. Everyone adjusted their posture with a touch of grace. This was the moment. I steeled my heart against the sting of embarrassment. I arrived with no expectations, and I shall depart with precisely the same sentiment. Such was my beano hef. For in that moment, unbeknownst to all present, neither Victoria nor Harold, nor even myself, my son Noah held a secret, one that with a single utterance would denocately unravel the tapestry of assumptions they had woven around themselves. You seem to have overlooked the video he captured. It had been 8 long years since I last found myself in a room like this, surrounded by my beloved family. It has been 8 years since I gathered the remnants of a life deemed unworthy, taking with me little Noah, just a tender 2 years old, and departed without a glance over my shoulder. Not out of desire, but from necessity. For every exchange with my father, Charles, culminated in either a profound silence or an eruption of voices. For every family gathering resembled a denoacate dance upon shards of glass, all the while maintaining a smile for the lens.
Yet iris tout dans ce mort.
In a room that lingered with the scent of cigar smoke and the echoes of past grievances. Ah, the denoteful irony! I was completely unaware that I had been invited to the reading of the will. 3 days after the funeral, the envelope arrived, a quiet reminder of what had transpired. Only the date, time, and address, elegantly penned in Connor's formal script. In that fleeting instant, a whisper of doubt crossed my mind, leaving me to ponder whether it had been a misstep. Perhaps it was intended for Victoria, or maybe it was simply a final cruel jest.
Yet, dear Noah?
Noah yearned to depart. He gazed at me with those expansive, gentle eyes, his voice a soft whisper yet filled with conviction. We should take our leave, mother, he remarked with a gentle insistence. Perhaps there is a whisper of truth awaiting your ears. It is truly remarkable how a child of merely 10 years can possess such profound wisdom, yet he undeniably does. At times, I ponder if he perceives the world through a lens that remains elusive to many adults. Thus, we arrived. I donned the simple black dress that had remained untouched since my mother's farewell, while he chose a charming little button-up that he selected with care. With trembling hands, I wove his hair into a Noah cape braid that morning, and he whispered that I looked beautiful. He remained unaware of the restless nights I had endured, nor of the fear that gripped my heart at the thought of confronting those who had regarded me as a mere spectre for almost 10 years. I was aware of their perceptions of me.
Victoria, my dear. The quintessential docteur.
She lingered. She offered her assistance. She tended to father with grace and devotion. She ensured that all eyes were upon her as she engaged in the act, captivating their attention effortlessly. She recounted the tale so often that it transformed into a cherished truth. Claire chose to leave her family behind. Claire found herself overwhelmed by the complexities of reality.
Claire fled into the night.
They never inquired about the reasons for my departure. They were either unaware or indifferent. My father ceased all communication with me after I chose to walk away from a marriage that was slowly unraving my spirit. When I arrived at his doorstep, Noah nestled within a suitcase. He quietly closed the door, leaving me in silence. It is a bittersweet irony that the very soul meant to shield me from the world's harshness has transformed into yet another barrier I must endeavor to overcome. Uncle Harold offered no assistance. He was a reflection of father, endlessly murmuring the same poignant words of discontent. Family endures unwaveringly.
Blood embody loyalty. Do not return with tears in your eyes.
And what of Victoria? She absorbed every moment and transformed it into a narrative she could wield with grace. Thus, I ceased my efforts. I crafted a serene existence for Noah and myself. Though our possessions were few, we were rich in tranquility and affection.
And the sound of laughter.
Yet, Ad Noah Kate whisper of hope lingered within me, a tender be Noah yef that perhaps in the end, Dad had glimpsed something profound. I find myself wishing I had chosen differently. I have inadvertently left something behind. Perhaps that is the reason I chose to unveil the contents of the envelope.
The raison for my présence.
Yet here I was, ensconced in that room, enveloped by piercing gazes and self-satisfied grins, Fay Noah ing rather foolish for daring to hope. Noah remained silent since we took our seats. He sat upright, hands resting gently in his lap, his gaze sweeping over the crowd as if he were savoring the essence of each face. His serene demeanor stirred a hint of unease within me, as if he were anticipating a moment of significance. Then, with a gentle clearing of his throat, Mr. Connors gracefully opened the folder. I reclined in my chair, softly murmuring to myself, just persevere through this moment. Do not allow them to witness your fragility.
Yet, dear Noah?
He found himself perched upon a burden far greater than sorrow. And before this came to an end, he would demonstrate that he was the sole soul in the room genuinely attuned to my father's words. Mr. Connors cleared his throat once more, a subtle gesture reminiscent of how lawyers command the room's attention without uttering a word. Noah Kately adjusted his glasses, gracefully flipped open the folder, and began to read the will as if it were merely another ordinary Tuesday. The initial lines barely reached my ears.
Standard légal provision.
Definitions of estates. Declarations of the executor. My thoughts were swirling in a denoteful dance. Not with the words he spoke, but with the anticipation of what was to unfold. He refrained from uttering my name. I held a deep conviction of it. Yet with each pause he took to turn a page, I found myself holding my breath, as if the next words might, just perhaps, unveil something entirely new. Perhaps he shall denote me with an unexpected gesture. Alas, it cannot be so. It was a gathering of familiar faces. To my beloved daughter Victoria, I bequeath the cherished primary residence along with all its treasured contents. Victoria's expression remained still, yet I sensed her satisfaction lingering in the air, as denoicate as a fragrant perfume drifting across the table. She cast a sidelong glance at her husband Neil, who offered her a self-satisfied nod, as if they were already envisioning their future renovations together. To my dear brother Harold, I bequeath the cherished lake property along with all remaining shares in our family business. Harold reclined gracefully in his chair, arms elegantly crossed, chin lifted like a sovereign, surveying his newly claimed realm. I observed him place the cigar once more between his teeth, biting down softly as if he had already claimed a victory. To my dear nephew Jason, the exquisite collection of vintage cars.
My dear Jason, the cousin who, at the tender age of 9, once locked me out of my own room simply to witness my tears?
Is that Jason? I gently bit the inside of my cheek, striving to maintain my composure and prevent my facade from faltering. I sensed the tears welling up behind my eyes, warm and piercing, yet I held them back, refusing to let them cascade down. Yet, there remains no word of my presence. Not even a whisper of acknowledgement. Then arrived the moment I had been anxiously anticipating. As I have stated before, my beloved daughter Claire shall not inherit a share of this estate. There it stood, a vision to behold.
Incomplicated. In conclusion.
As if a door gently closes. It was as though a heavy weight had settled upon my heart. Noah's fingers intertwined with mine beneath the table. I was blissfully unaware that my hands were tightly clasped in my lap. His touch drew me in, grounding me just before I could float away into the unknown.
Agente le trom of my yard Bea resonnated behind my eyes.
My skin ignited with a gentle heat. And then the whispers arrived, soft and enchanting. Subtle, yet purposeful. Victoria released a denoicate scoff, barely a whisper in the air. I told you, she whispered softly to Neil. Uncle Harold gently shook his head, as if the unfolding events were a tale he had anticipated all along. It requires a unique strength to turn one's back on a father, he remarked, his voice rising more than necessary. The others, the cousins, those who claimed to be family friends, spoke little. Their silence resonated with an intensity all its own. I gazed intently at the intricate patterns of the wood grain upon the table. The lines danced and curled, enchanting in their allure. It was far more pleasant to gaze upon that than to behold their expressions. The sound of my own voice echoed within me, devoid of warmth and resonance. What brought me here? What led me to be no heave? He would hold a memory of me close to his heart. Yet, in that moment, Noah gracefully shifted his position. He released my hand and straightened his posture with a graceful poise.
Before my eyes beheld the change, he sensed it in the air.
His voice sliced through the tension with the denoicacy of a fine blade, gentle yet resolute. You seem to have overlooked the video he captured. The atmosphere became still, as if time itself had paused. Victoria fluttered her eyelashes in surprise. Harold gracefully turned. Mr. Connors lingered, his pen denoicately poised above the page. I turned to Noah, a wave of bewilderment washing over me. Which video do you speak of?
Rien qui raide, my voice barely rising above a whisper.
Yet Noah's gaze was not upon me. He gazed intently into the distance. Calm and unwavering. Indeed. He denoicately reached into his backpack, retrieving a small white envelope, its surface slightly crumpled yet securely sealed.
My name graced the forefront.
Yet beneath it all, one could discern the elegant strokes of my father's handwriting. For the esteemed council. Only should it turn unpleasant. I have yet to grasp its meaning. Yet Noah did. And in that fleeting moment, for the first time all day, I sensed a denoicate shift in the atmosphere of the room. I gazed at the envelope in my son Noah's hands as if it were a precious artifact, radiating an aura of mystery. He cradled it with such poise, as if it were not the most perilous object in the room. Yet, my gaze was captivated by the exquisite script that adorned the front.
Exquisité.
All caps.
Indisputably captivating.
My father's. For the esteemed council. Only should it take a turn for the worse. Alas, the situation had taken a turn for the worse. I struggled to discover my voice.
Noah, my dear?
From where did you acquire that denoteful treasure? He gazed up at me, his expression gentle yet unwavering. It was a gift from my grandpa, bestowed upon me some time ago. He whispered to me to cherish it with care.
My hat fluttered.
Eh? Did he bestow it upon you? He inclined his head in agreement. The day we graced his presence. Only he and I. You were engaged in your professional endeavors. I blinked softly, striving to bring the memory into clearer view. That day lingers in my memory. Noah inquired if he might accompany my neighbor to denover something to my father. It was the first occasion I allowed him to depart without my presence. I was completely unaware that they engaged in conversation. At that moment, Mr. Connors extended his hand across the table.
Mais, per chance?
With a soft inquiry, he received the envelope from Noah, who offered it without a moment's pause. The whole room drew closer, captivated. Victoria was gazing intently, as if the world around her held secrets just beyond her grasp. Harold adjusted his posture in the seat, sitting up with newfound grace. In that moment, silence enveloped the room, leaving everyone at a loss for words. The envelope whispered softly as Connors denocately opened it. Within lay a USB drive, a small vessel of potential waiting to be discovered.
Petite. Onyx.
Unremarkable. Yet my heart raced, as if ignited by an explosion of passion. Connors denocately furrowed his brow as he gracefully retrieved a note from the envelope, as well. Yet another page penned in my father's graceful script. His gaze swept across the scene, and in that fleeting moment, the mask he wore began to falter for the first time since he entered the room.
Mais relis à touch.
Yet I beheld it. He hesitated to find the right words. He nodded slowly, as if an unspoken understanding had been beautifully affirmed. Everyone, Connors murmured, his voice now a gentle whisper. A video message from Robert Thomas awaits, captured prior to the final iteration of this will. It was sealed with a gentle reminder to be unveiled only should this circumstance grow tumultuous. His gaze danced from Victoria to Harold, a fleeting moment of connection. They both adjusted their positions in their chairs.
Victoria let out a Denoa-Katskov.
This is utterly absurd. He remained silent regarding the video. Uncle Harold leaned forward, his voice taking on a more resolute tone. We remain unaware of what lies upon that object. It may not be genuine. Connors lifted a hand gracefully.
It bears attestation.
Verified. I am familiar with the graceful strokes of his handwriting and the elegance of his signature, and in accordance with his wishes, I find myself compelled to fulfill this obligation. He gracefully connected the USB to the elegant black laptop resting on the desk beside him. The screen awakened, the logo gracefully melting away to reveal a black frame adorned with a solitary word. Engage in denoteful amusement. A subtle shift enveloped the room, transforming the atmosphere entirely. Silence enveloped the room.
Note à Soulstired. My yard bea resonnated softly in my fingertip.
I clutched the arms of my chair, as if they held the power to anchor me, preventing my spirit from drifting away into a realm beyond this one.
My brisk amine Denoa-Kat whisper, trembling softly.
What could have prompted Dad to leave behind a video? What prompted Noah's actions? What could he wish to express now, after all that has transpired? Noah appeared completely at ease. He remained motionless, his gaze fixed on the screen, as if he possessed an intimate knowledge of what was about to unfold.
Victoria's complexion had taken on a Denoa-Kat pallor.
Her lips formed a Denoa-Kat, unwavering line. Harold had ceased to savor his cigar.
He felt an irrésistible urge to run.
My heart ached with the desire to weep. A cry of anguish yearned to escape my lips. Yet, above all, my desire was to understand. Connors gracefully pressed the spacebar. The screen dimmed for a fleeting moment, then shimmered to life, and in an instant, he appeared before me. My father, aged and slender, sits at his desk, adorned in the navy sweater I gifted him for his last birthday, a piece I never imagined he would don. His hands rested gracefully, folded with a quiet elegance. His expression, not devoid of warmth, merely weary. He gazed directly into the camera, and then he began to speak.
Yelt my bris. Not when the screen illuminated the room.
Not when I beheld his visage. Not when I first heard those two words escape his lips.
Greeting, Claire.
He appeared more mature than I recalled. His skin had become Denoa-Kat. His once proud posture had taken on a gentle grace. Yet there he was, my father, Robert Thomas, seated at that time-worn oak desk, the antique globe standing sentinel behind him, reminiscent of our childhood days. This time, however, his expression held neither sternness nor distance. It was a moment suspended in time, where the air was thick with unspoken words and the gentle caress of a soft breeze whispered secrets of the heart.
Humanquin.
If you find yourself watching this, he continued, it means I am no longer here, and I can only assume that the reading did not unfold as we had hoped. His hands were gently clasped before him, fingers dancing with a subtle restlessness. I possessed a denoacate, anxious quirk as well. I never anticipated such harmony between you and the family. I am aware of their perceptions of you. Ah, I am well aware of the words I have spoken regarding you. He cast his gaze downward, swallowing hard.
Allah, I found myself mistaken.
My breath was momentarily suspended in my throat. My fingers gently pressed into the armrest of my chair. Noah's gaze met mine, yet I found myself unable to divert my eyes. I placed my trust in the words Victoria shared with me. I placed my trust in Harold. I thought you departed due to a lack of concern. I refrained from inquiring. I chose not to heed your words.
Not a single time.
You made an effort, and I turned away, closing the door on both you and Noah. I sensed Victoria's movement in her chair, a sudden and uneasy shift. I averted my gaze from her presence. I was unable to. Father's voice trembled, just a whisper away from breaking. I once believed that strength was synonymous with pride, that turning away was an act of betrayal. Yet, there lies strength. True strength lies in the act of being present. It is safeguarding your beloved child. And you accomplished that. You accomplished what I could not. His eyes shimmered with a captivating allure. My vision became hazy. One fateful day, I encountered Noah as he graced my presence with a visit.
Only the two of us.
That charming child. His words were few. Yet, when I inquired about you, he simply replied, my mother is the most secure haven in the universe. My hand gracefully ascended to my lips.
I've lost you, dear Claire.
I perceive that now. I lost my daughter, for I could not set aside my need to be right long enough to love you as you truly deserved. Yet, I shall not allow my final gesture to be one of distancing you from my heart once more. With a gentle clearing of his throat, he fixed his gaze directly upon the camera. Unwavering. I have made a revision to the will.
A soft murmure of surprise swept through the room. The gentle creak of a chair echoed softly in the air.
Perhaps Harold's.
Victoria whispered softly, her word lost to the gentle breeze, leaving me in sweet curiosity.
The only sound that graced my ears was the gentle timbre of my father's voice.
I have entrusted the house to you and Noah.
The cherished reserves. The fund for retirement. This belongs to you, along with a college trust for Noah. Though it may not mend the fractures of the past, my deepest wish is for you to find the tranquility that eluded us during my time among the living. He lingered for a moment, then drew a touch nearer to the camera. And if they find themselves in anger, let them embrace that emotion. You truly deserve this. You embraced every moment and remained a devoted mother throughout it all. That surpasses anything I have ever achieved. A lump swelled in my throat, so immense that it rendered me nearly breathless.
My heart swells with pride for you. My dearest Claire, I hold you in the deepest affection.
I always have. I simply found myself at a loss for how to express it. And then, just as the video began to fade into darkness, he whispered softly, take care of my grandson. Whisper your truth to him.
My heartfelt gratitude to you. The screen faded into darkness. Silence reign.
There is no transition.
Only a hush linge in the air. Pristine, tranquille, sacré duche. The chair around me let out soft, squeaking whisper.
A soft sniff echoed in the air. Yet, I remained still. I sat there, my hand gently covering my mouth, tears cascading down my cheeks, as if a weight I had long been unaware of had finally been released after years filled with clamor, accusation, solitude, and quietude. He listened to me. At long last, he truly listened to my words. And in the serene stillness that ensued, no one could ever diminish that moment. Silence enveloped the room as the screen faded into darkness.
Not Victoria, my dear. Not Harold, my dear.
Not the cousins or the family friends who once offered mere smiles, their eyes glossing over the burden I bore. Even Mr. Connors remained motionless, his hand suspended above the mouse, as though halting the video had also paused the very essence of time itself. Perhaps, in a sense, it truly had. Time seemed to stretch endlessly as I lingered there, my hand gently resting over my mouth. My cheeks glistened with tears. Yet, it was only when Noah's hand intertwined with mine once more that I became aware of the tears cascading down my cheeks. He held back his tears. He gazed up at me with a subtle knowing smile, as if he had been patiently awaiting the moment when the truth would finally reveal itself. I gently bent down and pressed my lips to the crown of his head. My heart ached with a fey-knowing that transcended the confines of language.
Affection, solace, sorrow, all intertwined in a dénoacat embrasse.
Across the room, Victoria rose with a sudden grace. Her chair glided across the floor with a soft, lingering screech. With trembling hands, she gathered her bag and stepped outside, silence enveloping her departure. Her husband followed closely, a flush of crimson gracing his cheeks, softly murmuring words that danced just beyond the edge of hearing. Harold lingered in his seat, his jaw set tight, his gaze lost in the void. As he finally rose to his feet, his gaze met Connor's with an intensity that suggested a desire for confrontation. Yet, deep down, he understood that there was nothing left to contend with. My father had uttered his words. His truth could no longer be overlooked. One by one, they trailed behind, each step a gentle echo of the last. Some averted their gaze from mine. Some offered gentle nods, a blend of pity and perhaps admiration. I was unable to discern. Before long, only the three of us remained. Connors delicately closed the folder, his throat clearing softly in the stillness. "There will be some paperwork," he murmured, his voice a gentle caress in the air. "Yet all is as it should be."
Y inclinait de maille et d'inagrément.
I found myself at a loss for words. What words might I choose to express myself? He offered a subtle, sincere smile before gracefully departing, leaving us in the quiet embrace of the room. The silence that ensued was unlike any I had come to know. This silence enveloped me in a tranquil embrace, complete and harmonious, as if everything had at last found its rightful place. I gazed at Noah, his hand still enveloping mine, his eyes fixed on me as if I were the most formidable soul in existence. And perhaps within the depths of his gaze, I truly was. Yet he was the one who rescued me, who held that envelope as if it were merely a slip of paper, rather than the revelation that would transform everything. We lingered a while longer.
À main certain of the horizon.
Perhaps I simply required a moment to exhale. Perhaps I longed to be in that singular space where, after so many years, I finally sensed a true sense of belonging. Dad's voice lingered in my thoughts, a gentle echo that wrapped around me.
Mayat swells with pride for you.
3 words I once benoheaved would remain unspoken, yet they were the very words I longed for more than I ever dared to confess. I reflected on all that I had borne, the weight of years steeped in silence, the sting of blame, the fey-knowing of being forgotten. And now I remain, untouched and enduring. I was noticed, listened to, cherished in memory.
I cast my gaze upon Noah once more. Thank you, he murmured softly.
He gracefully tilted his head.
For what purpose, my dear?
I remarked, acknowledging your courage that surpasses my own. For cherishing what once held significance. He offered a gentle smile. I simply wished for you to listen to him. And I indeed had. It was not merely in the video, but in the transformation that followed, in the serene tranquility that enveloped the space once all others had departed. Ah, the essence of truth is a delicate matter. It does not always arrive at the moment you desire. Yet when it arrives, it transforms all that is. Alas, that shall not be the case. I emerged from that room unscathed. As I stepped outside, my son's hand nestled in mine, my father's words lingered in my heart, resonating with a gentle warmth. I stepped out, fey-knowing entirely complete. And what of that silence? At last, that silence held a profound significance. Should this tale resonate with you, if you have ever felt overlooked, misunderstood, or as though your voice held no significance, take solace in this truth. You are not unseen. At times, the truth unfolds at its own pace. Yet, it shall reveal itself in due time. If this video stirred something within you, I would be grateful if you could give it a like and share it with someone who may also benefit from its message. Such tales find their way to those who yearn for them most, especially when you guide their journey. Should you desire to immerse yourself in more genuine, heartfelt tales akin to this one, do remember to subscribe to the channel. There is an abundance of tales yet to unfold. Until we meet again, remain resilient, embrace kindness, and always cherish the significance of your voice.